The Galaxy Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive structure of crystal and light that had witnessed 10,000 years of peace. Inside, 7 species sat in judgment, their forms ranging from the ethereal Thelmara to the stone-like Vesrin. They had built civilization on a simple principle: talk, never fight. War was for primitives. War was for the dead past. That principle was dying. Speaker. Thelmara's translucent form flickered with distress as another report came through. The Vrath Empire had destroyed the colony on Ceres Prime, 30 million dead. The Council had sent warnings. The Council had imposed sanctions. The Council had begged for negotiations. The Vrath answered with conquest. "We must respond with force," Councillor Vesrin said, his rocky voice grinding through the chamber. "They ignore our words." "Force?" Thelmara recoiled. "We are not barbarians. We do not wage war." "Then we die peacefully while they kill us violently," Vesrin replied. The vote was close, but desperation won. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galaxy Council authorized military action. They called it a police action, as if renaming war made it civilized. They sent their fleets with rules of engagement longer than most species' constitutions. Battle times were scheduled. Civilian areas were protected. Certain weapons were forbidden. The Vrath laughed and killed them all the same. 6 weeks into the war, the Council had lost 43 ships. The Vrath had lost 8. The mathematics were brutal and simple. At this rate, the Council would cease to exist in 4 months, on the edge of Council space. Captain Deho of the Terran exploration ship Horizon was charting an unremarkable star system when the distress call came through. A Council science station, unarmed and defenseless, was under attack. 3 Vrath raiders were tearing it apart, killing the researchers who had never held a weapon in their lives. "Sir, we're not Council members," his first officer said. "This isn't our fight." Deho looked at the scanner showing the station burning, showing the escape pods being targeted and destroyed. He had fought in Earth's colony wars. He had seen this before. He had sworn he would never see it again and do nothing. "It is now," he said. Battle stations. The Horizon was not a warship. It was an explorer, lightly armed, designed to study stars and planets. But it was built by humans, and humans built everything expecting a fight. Deho watched the Vrath ships on his screen. They were bigger, stronger, better armed. They were also predictable. "They're hunting pods," he said. "They're not watching for threats. Come in low, using the station's debris field as cover. Disable their engines first, weapons second. Sir, our railguns are designed for clearing space debris. Debris engines, same principle. Different target." The Horizon slipped through the wreckage like a knife through shadows. The Vrath never saw them coming. The first raider's engines exploded from a railgun shot that hit with the precision of a surgeon's cut. The second ship turned to face them, but Deho had already moved, using the dying station's superstructure to block their targeting solutions. "They're not used to people fighting back," Deho said calmly. "They're used to the Council's rules. We don't have those rules because we're not Council." The fight lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 2 Vrath ships were crippled and drifting. The third tried to run. Deho destroyed its faster-than-light drive with a missile that cost more than most planets' yearly budgets, then disabled its life support. "Sir, should we take prisoners?" his weapons officer asked. Deho thought about the escape pods he had watched them destroy. He thought about researchers who studied stars being murdered for sport. "No," he said. "Send a recovery team to the station. Save who we can." They saved 43 lives that day. The Council was grateful and horrified in equal measure. Ambassador Jiwoo received the summons 3 days later. Earth's diplomatic representative was young for her position, chosen because she believed humanity could prove itself worthy of joining the galactic community. She had spent 5 years convincing the Council that humans were not the violent primitives. Their history suggested. Then Deho had destroyed 3 Vrath ships in 11 minutes. She stood before the Council, expecting censure. Instead, they looked at her with something she had never seen before: desperate hope, How did he do it? Vesrin asked. Do what, counselor? Win. The Vreth are superior fighters. Their ships are better. Their tactics are proven. Your captain defeated them with an exploration vessel. Wu chose her words carefully. Captain Deho fought in Earth's colony wars. He has experience with asymmetric warfare and unconventional tactics. Experience with war, Thelmara said, and the words sounded like an accusation. Yes, Zhiwu admitted. Humanity has fought many wars. The council chamber fell silent. 10,000 years of peace confronted by a species that measured its peace in decades, not millennia. Finally, Vesrin spoke. We need that experience. We are losing this war because we have forgotten how to fight. Perhaps we never knew. You want our help? Yiwu felt her heart race. This was the opportunity she had worked for. We would be honored to assist the council in achieving peace. Not peace, Vesrin said. Victory. We want you to teach us how to win a war. Speaker Thelmara's form dimmed. I protest this. War is barbarism. If we embrace it, we become no better than the Vrath. If we do not embrace it, we become dead, Vesrin countered. The ambassador's people know war. Let them consult. Let them advise. What harm can words do? The vote was narrow, but it passed. Jiwu was authorized to request military consultation from Earth. She sent the message with shaking hands. Knowing she was opening a door that might never close, the response came from Admiral Hyonsik. Commander of Earth's Third Fleet. It was brief. We'll send advisors. But if you want us to teach you how to win, you have to be ready to learn. War isn't fought with good intentions. It's fought with whatever works. Captain Deho was recalled from exploration duty and assigned to the Council's war effort. He arrived at the Council's military headquarters and spent 3 days reviewing their strategies, their battles, their rules of engagement. On the 4th day, he requested a meeting with the full military command. You're not fighting a war, he told them. You're fighting a very polite disagreement with weapons. The Vrath are fighting for conquest and survival. You cannot win. Then what do we do? They asked. Deho pulled up a tactical display. You fight to win, or you surrender now and save lives. There is no middle ground. War is not a philosophical debate. It is about making the enemy stop fighting by any means necessary. The council representatives looked at each other in horror. This was not what they had expected from consultation. This was barbarism dressed in logic. We cannot, Thelmara said. We cannot become monsters to fight monsters. Then you will die, Deho said simply. And the Vreth will move on to the next species and the next until someone stops them. The question is whether you want to be the ones who stop them or the ones who die hoping someone else will. Ambassador Jiwu watched her dream of humanity joining the galactic community crumble. She had promised the council that humans were civilized, that they had outgrown their violent past. Now Deho was offering them violence as salvation, but as another report came in of a council defeat of millions more dead, she wondered if civilization was a luxury that required someone willing to be uncivilized in its defense. The council made their decision. They would hire humanity as independent contractors. One battle, one system. If the humans won without committing atrocities, Earth would get provisional membership. If they lost, or if they proved to be as bad as the Vrath, humanity would be banned from council space forever. Admiral Hyonsik received the contract and smiled. It was not a kind smile. One battle, he said. They have no idea what they've just authorized. He began preparing the Third Fleet for deployment. 12 ships. 4,000 personnel. Against a Vrath force that had destroyed 60 council vessels. The odds did not concern him. The humans were not coming to fight by council rules. They were coming to win. Admiral Hyonsik stood on the bridge of the battleship Relentless and studied the tactical display showing the Talon's Edge system. 3 Vrath battle groups controlled the space around a gas giant that the council desperately needed for fuel production. The council had tried to retake it twice. Both attempts had failed with massive casualties. Show me their attack patterns, he ordered. Commander Young Mi, his second-in-command, brought up the recordings. Hyun-sik watched in silence as council ships broadcast their intentions, requested surrender, gave warnings before firing, and pulled back when civilian transports were detected nearby. They fight like they're trying to win a debate, Young Mi said quietly. The council has rules, Captain Daeho explained. He had come aboard as a tactical advisor. Wars must be fought honorably. Weapons of mass destruction are forbidden. Civilian casualties must be minimized. Battles can only occur in designated zones. And the Vreth follow these rules? Hyun-sik asked, though he already knew the answer. Never. They use the rules against the council. They hide military assets near civilians. They launch surprise attacks during negotiated ceasefires. They target medical ships. Hyun-sik turned to his communications officer. Get me a secure channel to the Council Military Command. The holographic image of Counselor Vesrin appeared. Behind him, Speaker Thelmara watched with obvious concern. Admiral, are your forces ready to engage? I need clarification on our rules of engagement, Hyun-sik said. The standard council protocols apply. You must announce your presence, request surrender, minimize casualties. No, Hyun-sik interrupted. Those are your rules. What are our rules? Silence fell over the connection. Thelmara spoke first. You are acting on behalf of the council. You must follow our standards of civilized warfare, and then we will lose. Your standards are suicide against an enemy that does not share them. What are you asking for? Vesrin asked carefully. Freedom to prosecute this war effectively. That means no announcements, no warnings, no restrictions on when and where we fight. We target their ability to make war, not their willingness to surrender. You are describing butchery, Thelmara said, their form flickering with distress. I am describing victory, Hyun-sik replied. You hired us to solve a problem. Let us solve it our way or send us home. The council debated for 6 hours. Finally, they reached a compromise. The humans could fight one battle with minimal restrictions, but observers would be present. If the humans committed atrocities, the contract would be void and humanity would face sanctions. Agreed, Hyun-sik said. But your observers stay on their ships. They watch from a distance. I will not have them interfering in combat operations. The Third Fleet moved into position around Talon's edge, 12 human ships against 47 Vrath vessels. The council observers predicted a massacre. They were right, but not about who would be massacred. Hyun-sik studied his enemy for 3 days. The Vrath followed patterns. They rotated their patrol schedules. They concentrated forces around the most valuable targets. They expected attacks to come from the standard approach vectors because that was how the council fought. They have no imagination, Young Mi observed. They expect everyone to fight like they do, which means they are not prepared for people who fight differently. Daeho added the attack began at 0300 station time, not because it was tactically optimal, but because the Vrath third shift was undermanned and their commanders were asleep. The humans had studied their enemy's biology and knew their sleep cycles. The first Vrath ship to die never knew it was under attack. A spread of missiles fired from extreme range struck their fuel depot ship, turning it into an expanding fireball that destroyed 2 nearby vessels. While the Vrath fleet scrambled to respond, human ships swept in from 4 different vectors. Target their logistics first, Hyun-sik ordered. Ammunition ships, fuel tankers, repair vessels. An army that cannot reload cannot fight. The Vrath tried to form defensive positions, but the humans were already behind them. They had used the debris from the fuel depot as cover, had come in dark with all systems powered down, had positioned themselves while the enemy was blind from the explosion. Second wave. Target communications, Young Mi called out. Cut them off from each other. Vrath command ships died in sequence. Without coordination, their formations collapsed into confusion. Individual captains made individual decisions, and the humans exploited every gap, every hesitation, every moment of uncertainty. Lieutenant Biora sat at her psychological warfare station, studying the intercepted Vrath communications. They were panicking. They kept trying to hail the humans to negotiate, to request the ceasefire that Council rules promised. They are asking for surrender terms, she reported. Denied, Hyan-Sik said flatly. We did not come to accept surrender. We came to eliminate the threat. Sir, if they want to surrender, they are soldiers in enemy territory. They can retreat or die. Those are their options. The battle lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. When it ended, 47 Vrath ships were destroyed or disabled. The 12 human vessels had sustained moderate damage. 0 casualties on the Council observation ship. Speaker Thelmara watched in horror as the humans efficiently destroyed escape pods from damaged Vrath vessels. They are killing survivors, Thelmara transmitted. This is murder. Those are enemy combatants attempting tactical withdrawal, Hyan-Sik responded coldly. We are preventing them from regrouping and attacking again. This is war. This is barbarism. This is what you hired us to do. Win. The Council observation ship transmitted full recordings of the battle. Some Council members praised the efficiency. Others called for immediate prosecution of war crimes. Vesryn silenced them all. We lost this system twice, the Councilor said. Thousands of our people died trying to reclaim it. The humans did it in 4 hours with 0 casualties. I do not like their methods, but I cannot argue with their results. Ambassador Jiwoo watched the recordings and felt sick. She had spent years convincing the Council that humanity was civilized. Now she had to defend actions that looked like calculated slaughter. They fought within the agreed parameters, she argued to anyone who would listen. Brutal, yes, but effective? Necessary. Thelmara confronted her. Killing defenseless escape pods is necessary? Those pods held trained soldiers who would return to fight another day. Every Vrath warrior we allow to escape is another Council citizen who will die later. Which is more moral? Mercy to our enemies or protection of our own? The question had no good answer. News of the battle spread quickly. The Vrath Empire issued a statement demanding to know what kind of species humanity was. They had never encountered an enemy so ruthlessly efficient. Their entire military doctrine was built on overwhelming force and intimidation. The humans had countered with precision and speed. More importantly, they had shown no fear. The Council called an emergency session. They had agreed to one battle. Now they faced a choice: expand the human contract or try to finish the war themselves with their remaining forces. We need them, Vesryn stated. Our fleets are broken. Our commanders are dead. The Vrath know we are weak. Only the humans have stopped their advance. At what cost? Thelmara demanded. Our principles? Our civilization? If we become like the humans, what separates us from the Vrath? Survival, Vesryn said simply. The vote was closer this time, but desperation was a powerful motivator. Admiral Hyan-Sik was given command of 3 systems. He was authorized to recruit Council personnel who were willing to learn human methods. The restrictions were loosened further. We are making a terrible mistake, Thelmara warned. We think we are hiring warriors. We are unleashing monsters. Ambassador Jiwoo received the new contract terms. Expanded authority. Greater resources. Everything she had wanted for humanity's acceptance into the galactic community. But as she read the casualty reports from Talon's Edge, she wondered if the price was too high. She met with Admiral Hyan-Sik in private. The Council is afraid of us now, she said. They think we are savages. They are right to be afraid, Hyan-Sik replied without emotion. War is savage. Anyone who thinks otherwise has never really fought one. We were supposed to prove we are civilized. We are proving we can protect civilization. That is more important. Is it? If we win this war by becoming monsters, what have we won? Hyan-Sik looked at her with tired eyes. We win the right for the Council to continue existing. They can debate philosophy and morality because people like us are willing to do the ugly work that keeps them safe. They will hate us for it. They always do. but they will live. On the Vreth homeworld, the Emperor convened his war council. The loss at Talon's Edge was unacceptable. These humans fought without honor, without rules, without mercy. They had to be stopped. What do we know about them? The Emperor demanded. Very little. They are a young species, not even council members. They claim to have fought many wars on their own world. Then they understand war? Good, we will show them what real war looks like. Prepare the Grand Fleet. We will crush them with overwhelming numbers. But the Vreth did not understand. They thought war was about strength and numbers. Humans had learned long ago that war was about will and creativity and the willingness to do whatever was necessary. The galaxy was about to learn the difference. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of his new command, a human destroyer assigned to council space. He looked at the stars and thought about what they had started. We opened a door, he said to himself. I wonder if we can ever close it again. The war was escalating, and humanity was just getting started. Admiral Hyun-Sik transformed 3 council systems into fortresses within 2 months. The council watched in amazement as human engineers built defenses they had never imagined. Minefields that shifted positions, automated weapon platforms hidden in asteroid fields, early warning networks that could detect ships weeks before they arrived. Your people build everything expecting attack. Counselor Vesrin observed during an inspection tour. Because we have learned that peace is temporary, Hyun-Sik replied. The universe does not care about our desire for safety. So we make our own safety through preparation. Commander Youngmi oversaw the training of council military personnel who volunteered to learn human tactics. Most quit within the first week. The training was brutal, the philosophy alien to everything they knew. You are teaching us to fight dirty, one council officer complained. We are teaching you to fight effectively, Youngmi corrected. There is no honor in losing. There is no dignity in death. There is only victory or defeat. Choose which you prefer. Those who remained became the first council soldiers who truly understood warfare. They were feared by their own people and respected by the humans. They called themselves the Hybrid Corps, soldiers who bridged 2 philosophies. Lieutenant Baora expanded her psychological warfare operations. She studied Vreth culture, their hierarchies, their communication patterns. Then she began broadcasting into Vreth-controlled space. The messages were simple but devastating. Recordings of their defeats, lists of their dead commanders, questions about why the Emperor sent soldiers to die while he remained safe. Seeds of doubt planted in a military culture that demanded absolute obedience. Is this not dishonorable? A council observer asked. It saves lives on both sides, Biora explained. Every Vreth soldier who doubts their leadership is one less we have to kill. Every question they ask themselves is a weapon we did not have to fire. Dr. Min Aco, a xenobiologist brought in from Earth, worked with council scientists to understand Vreth physiology. They discovered the Wraith had enhanced vision in certain light spectrums but were nearly blind in others. They had faster reaction times but required more rest cycles. Every species has weaknesses, she explained to the research team. Knowing them is the difference between winning and losing. Her research led to new tactics. Human ships began using light frequencies that disrupted Vreth targeting systems. Attack schedules were planned around their mandatory rest periods. Even their ship designs were modified to exploit what they had learned. The Vreth adapted, but slowly. They were a hierarchical species, and new ideas had to filter up through layers of command. By the time they implemented countermeasures, the humans had already moved on to new approaches. Colonel Taeyang commanded the special forces units that operated behind Vreth lines. His teams were small, fast, and ruthlessly efficient. They sabotaged supply lines, assassinated high-value targets, and spread chaos wherever they went. We are 300 soldiers disrupting an empire of billions, he told his team before each mission. We succeed not through strength, but through making them fear what they cannot. See, his most famous operation was the destruction of the Vreth Military Academy on Kresh 7. A single team of 12 humans infiltrated. the facility during a graduation ceremony and planted charges throughout the structure. The academy collapsed, killing 2,000 future Vrathofers and destroying decades of military knowledge stored in their archives. The council was horrified. They were students, Thelmara protested. They were officers being commissioned into active military service, Taeyang replied coldly. They would have commanded ships that would have killed council citizens. I removed them from the war before they could. But the knowledge destroyed was knowledge of how to wage war. The galaxy is better without it. Engineer Jae-sung revolutionized council weapons technology. He studied their designs and saw inefficiency everywhere. Council weapons were built with safety features, power limiters, and ethical constraints that reduce their effectiveness. Your railguns use only 60% of their potential power, he explained to shocked council engineers. You have software that prevents targeting certain areas of enemy ships. We do not target life support or medical bays, they explained. Your enemies do. Your compassion is killing you. He redesigned their weapons, removing the limiters, enhancing the power output, eliminating the targeting restrictions. The new weapons were twice as effective and horrified every council member who saw them. These are weapons of murder, one council scientist said. All weapons are weapons of murder, Jae-sung replied. The only question is whether they murder your enemies or allow your enemies to murder you. The war entered its 4th month under human leadership. The Vrath had lost 42 systems, 8 major shipyards, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers. But they were far from defeated. Their empire was vast, their resources seemingly endless. Then they made their most critical mistake. They decided to show the humans what real warfare looked like. A Vrath strike force bypassed the front lines using experimental, faster-than-light technology. Their target was not a military installation or a strategic resource. Their target was a human colony on Kepler 442b. 30,000 civilians lived there. Families of the soldiers fighting the Council's war, the attack was meant to be a message: you are not safe. Your homes are not safe. Stop fighting or we will come for everyone you love. The Vrath killed for 6 hours before human reinforcements arrived. 30,000 became 0. Entire cities were burned. Schools, hospitals, homes all destroyed. The Vrath made sure to broadcast the attack so humans would see their loved ones die. It was the worst decision the Vrath Empire ever made. Admiral Heinzig received the news while planning an operation. He stood silent for a long moment, watching the footage of burning cities and murdered children. Then he turned to Commander Youngmi. Change of plans, he said, and his voice was absolutely calm. Get me every available ship. I want the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 6th fleets mobilized and moving within 6 hours. Sir, that will leave Earth's defenses minimal. Do it. And prepare Operation Searing Wind. Youngmi's face went pale. Operation Searing Wind was a contingency plan, something drawn up as a worst-case scenario. It called for simultaneous strikes on 15 Vrath military installations, 3 shipyards, and their primary weapons foundry. It would require perfect coordination across dozens of light years and would commit nearly every human military asset to a single massive assault. Sir, the Council will have to authorize. I am not asking the Council. I am informing them. Prepare the operation. Ambassador Ji Woo tried to stop him. She knew what this meant, what it would cost, how it would be perceived. Admiral, please, think about what this will do to humanity's reputation. If we launch a revenge attack of this scale, the Council will never trust us. I do not care about their trust, Hyonsik said. The Vrath attacked our civilians to send a message. We will send a message in return. What message? That you cannot make us afraid? You cannot make us stop. You can only make us angry. The Council held an emergency session. Speaker Thelmara begged the humans to show restraint, to respond proportionally, to remember their principles. Councillor Vezeran silenced them. The Vrath murdered 30,000 civilians to terrorize humanity into stopping. If we ask the humans to show restraint now, we tell the Vrath that terror works. We tell every species in the galaxy that killing innocents is an acceptable tactic. What does that say about us? It says we are civilized, Thelmara insisted. It says we are cowards, Vesrin countered. The humans have lost more in one day than we lost in the first month of this war. They have every right to respond. The vote failed to restrict human operations. Not because the Council wanted revenge, but because they could not stop it. Humanity had the military strength and the moral authority of grief, and the will to use both. Operation Searing Wind launched 72 hours after the Kepler 442 massacre. 5 human fleets struck simultaneously across Vrath space. The attacks were precise, overwhelming, and absolutely merciless. Captain Deho led the assault on the Vrath shipyards at Terminus Station. The station was defended by 60 warships and could build 8 capital ships at once. It had been building ships for the Vrath military for 300 years. It took Deho's task force 40 minutes to reduce it to debris. No warnings were given. No surrender was offered. The humans swept in and destroyed everything with the cold efficiency of an exterminator removing pests. When they left, the shipyard was gone, the defending fleet was annihilated, and 8 half-built warships were spreading fragments across the system, the pattern repeated across Vrath space. 15 military installations destroyed. 3 shipyards obliterated. The primary weapons foundry on Vrath Prime's second moon turned into a crater visible from orbit. The Council observers watched in silence as humanity demonstrated what total war meant. There was no hesitation, no mercy, no consideration for anything except the complete elimination of the targets. They are not warriors, Speaker Thelmara said quietly. They are a force of nature, implacable, unstoppable, terrifying. When Operation Searing Wind concluded, the Vrath military capacity was reduced by 40%. The humans had lost 18 ships and 4,000 personnel. The Vrath had lost infrastructure that would take decades to replace. More importantly, they had lost the initiative. For the first time since the war began, the Vrath were afraid. Admiral Hyunsek stood before the Council and delivered his report with no emotion in his voice. The operation was successful. All primary targets destroyed. Acceptable casualties sustained. Recommendation: continue offensive operations until the Vrath are no longer capable of threatening Council space or human colonies. Admiral, Thelmara said carefully, what you accomplished was devastating. Surely the Vrath will negotiate now. They attacked our civilians, Hyunsek replied. There will be no negotiation. There will be complete Vrath demilitarization, or there will be their complete destruction. Those are the only acceptable outcomes. The chamber fell silent. Captain Deho, standing nearby, realized what was happening. The Council had hired humanity to fight their war. They had not realized they were teaching humanity to hate their enemy. The Vrath Empire convened its war council and faced the truth. They could not win. The humans were too skilled, too determined, too willing to sacrifice for victory. But surrender was unthinkable. The Emperor decided on one final desperate gamble. If they could not defeat the humans in their war, they would bring the war to humanity's home. They would strike Earth itself and force the humans to defend rather than attack. It was a logical plan. It was a strategic necessity. It would also be the final mistake that sealed the Vrath Empire's fate, because humanity had learned one lesson that the Vrath never had. An enemy that attacks your home does not deserve surrender terms. They deserve annihilation. The warning came 17 hours before the Vrath fleet arrived. An automated human listening post on the edge of Sol system detected the faster-than-light signatures. 90 ships moving at maximum speed. Heading directly for Earth, Fleet Admiral Chulsu had commanded Earth's home defense for 12 years. He had trained for every scenario, planned for every contingency, and prayed this day would never come. Now it was here, and he had less than a day to prepare. All ships to battle stations, he ordered. Recall every vessel within 6 hours travel time. Evacuate orbital stations to planetary shelters. Activate all defense platforms. This is not a drill. Earth had 30 warships in system. The civilian traffic scattered as military protocols took over. Space stations that usually held 50,000 people were emptied in hours. On the surface, 7 million people in coastal cities were moved inland, away from potential strike zones. Lieutenant Commander Yoongi coordinated the defensive positions from the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable. She had studied every major battle of the war, every Vreth tactic, every human counter-strategy. None of it had prepared her for defending Earth with 3-to-1 odds against them. "They are coming straight at us," she reported to Chol-Su. "No subtlety. No clever approach. Just overwhelming force. They want to terrorize us like they did at Kepler," Chol-Su said. "Show us they can reach our home. Make us afraid to keep fighting. Will it work?" Chol-Su looked at Earth on the view screen, that blue marble that held everything humanity had built, everyone they loved, their entire history and future. "No," he said quietly. "It will do the opposite." The Vrath fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a perfect attack formation. Their ships spread across space like a tide of metal and death. They had come to teach humanity fear. They broadcast their demands on all frequencies. Surrender immediately. Withdraw all forces from Council space. Pay reparations. Accept Vrath occupation of 3 human colonies. The terms were deliberately impossible, designed to be rejected so the Vrath could claim they offered mercy. Fleet Admiral Chol-Su's response was 7 words. "Come and take it if you can." The battle began badly for humanity. The Vrath had numbers, firepower, and fresh crews. Earth's defense fleet was smaller, spread thin, and operating on minimal support. The Vrath hammered the defensive positions with coordinated strikes that showed they had learned from their defeats. The orbital defense platform Bastion 7 died first. Overwhelmed by 3 Vrath cruisers focusing fire, 800 personnel died instantly. The Vrath pressed their advantage, driving toward the orbital shipyards that could not be evacuated. "They are targeting our industrial capacity," Yoongi reported. "If they destroy the shipyards, we lose the ability to build new vessels." "Pull back the outer perimeter," Chol-Su ordered. "Draw them into the minefield around Luna. Let them think they are winning." The human ships retreated in apparent disarray. The Vrath commanders, sensing victory, pushed harder. They poured into the space between Earth and Moon. Chasing the fleeing human ships, that was when the minefields activated. Humanity had spent 10 years seeding the space around Earth with sophisticated mines that could hide in plain sight, waiting for enemy signatures. Thousands of them detonated simultaneously, creating a wall of explosions that caught the Vrath formation perfectly. 15 Vrath ships died in the first minute. 20 more were crippled. The neat formation collapsed into chaos as commanders tried to avoid mines while maintaining their attack. "Now," Chol-Su ordered, "all ships, full assault. Hit them while they are confused." The human fleet reversed course and plunged into the chaos. It was close-quarters fighting at its most desperate. Ships exchanged fire at ranges where shields were useless and armor meant everything. Vessels rammed each other when their weapons failed. Captains made split-second decisions that saved or doomed thousands of lives. The destroyer, Defiant, lost its engines and began drifting into Earth's gravity well. Rather than abandon ship, Captain Yan-Wu ordered his crew to evacuate, then manually piloted the dying vessel into a Vrath battlecruiser. The collision destroyed both ships and opened a gap in the Vrath formation that 3 human frigates exploited. "We are losing," Yoongi said, watching the tactical display. The humans fought brilliantly, but numbers were numbers. For every Vrath ship destroyed, humanity lost half a ship. The mathematics were brutal. "Then we changed the mathematics," Chol-Su said. He opened a channel to the Indomitable's engineering section. "How long until we lose main power?" 40 minutes at current damage rate, sir." "I need 30. "Can you give me 30? "Yes, sir." "But then we are dead in space." "I know." "Do it." Chol-Su turned to his crew. "Evacuation order. All non-essential personnel to the escape pods. Launch them toward Earth. Everyone else, you have 30 minutes to do as much damage as possible." Yoongi stared at him. "Sir, you are staying?" "Someone has to pilot the ship." You are evacuating. That is an order, Commander. With respect, sir, no. If you're staying, I'm staying. Others echoed her. The communications officer, the weapons officer, the helmsman, the junior ensign who was on his first assignment. They all stayed. The Indomitable was Earth's newest and most powerful warship. It had cost more than most nations' annual budgets and represented the peak of human military technology. For 30 minutes, it fought like humanity's vengeance given form. Chalsu targeted the Wrath command ship, the largest vessel in their fleet. He drove straight at it, ignoring the damage, ignoring the fires spreading through his ship, ignoring everything except getting close enough to matter. Main power failing, engineering reported. 20 seconds until total system failure. Unji, Chalsu said calmly, activate the AI pilot and program ramming course. Everyone, escape pods now. That is a direct order. Move. They ran. They had no choice. But as Unji reached the escape pod, she looked back at the admiral standing alone on the bridge of his dying ship. And she knew she would never forget that image, the Indomitables. AI took control of the ship's remains and accelerated to maximum speed. The Wrath command ship tried to evade, but it was too large, too slow. The two ships collided at relativistic speed. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. For 3 seconds, a new sun lit up the night sky. When it faded, both ships were gone, along with the Wrath Emperor's eldest son who had commanded the invasion fleet. The death of their commander broke the Wrath assault. Without leadership, without coordination, they fell back into defensive positions. The human fleet pressed the advantage, and what had been a battle became a slaughter. When the fighting ended 6 hours later, the Wrath had 68 ships destroyed or disabled. 22 managed to escape into faster-than-light speed. Earth's defense fleet was reduced to 11 functional warships, 4 million. Civilians had died when Wrath bombardment hit 3 cities before the orbital defenses stopped them. 7 orbital stations were destroyed. The shipyard complex was crippled. Hundreds of satellites were debris. The battle was won, but the cost was devastating. Ambassador Jiwoo stood in the ruins of her apartment in Seoul and cried. She had been on the ground during the bombardment, had watched missiles fall from the sky, had seen entire neighborhoods vanish in fire. Her sister had died along with her sister's children. 30 people she had known personally were gone. She received the summons from the Galaxy Council 3 hours after the battle ended. They wanted to convene an emergency session to discuss a ceasefire. The Wrath had agreed to negotiations. The war could end. She stood before the council with ash on her clothes and grief in her eyes. The Wrath request a ceasefire, Speaker Thelmara announced. They have agreed to peace talks. We can end this war honorably with minimal further loss of life. Minimal? Gibu's voice was sharp. 4 million humans died yesterday. 30,000 died at Kepler. How many council citizens died? How many of your worlds have been attacked? We understand your pain. You understand nothing. Her control shattered. You hired us to fight your war. We bled for you. We died for you. The Wrath came to our home because we dared to defend you. And now you want us to stop because they asked nicely? Ambassador, please, they murdered children. They targeted schools and hospitals. They broadcast our dead to make us afraid. And it did not make us afraid. It made us angry. Do you understand the difference? Counselor Vesrin spoke carefully. What are you saying, Ambassador? I am saying that Earth will not agree to a ceasefire. We will not negotiate. We will not stop. The Wrath wanted to show us the cost of fighting them. They succeeded. Now we will show them the cost of making humans angry. This is madness, Thelmara protested. More death will not bring back your dead. No, Jiwoo agreed. But it will ensure no one else has to bury their children because the Wrath decided terror was a valid strategy. We are going to remove their ability to wage war. Permanently, the council chamber erupted in protest. This was not what they wanted. They wanted the war to end, to return to peace, to forget the ugliness of the past months. They did not understand that humanity could not forget, would not forget. Admiral Hyansik received the Council's ceasefire order and deleted it. He was already mobilizing Earth's full military strength. The 1st through 7th fleets were converging on Vrath space. Every shipyard that could still function was working overtime. Every reserve unit was being activated. They attacked Earth, he told his staff. They thought that would make us surrender. They were wrong. We are going to show them what humanity does to enemies who threaten our home. Captain Deho watched the fleet assemble and felt a deep sadness. The Council had hired humanity to teach them about war. Now humanity was going to teach the Vrath about consequences. Can we come back from this? He asked young Mi. I do not know, she admitted. We have crossed lines that cannot be uncrossed. We have become what we needed to become to win. Whether we can be anything else after, I have no answer. The Galaxy Council issued an ultimatum. If humanity did not accept the ceasefire, they would face sanctions, isolation, possibly military intervention. Ambassador Jiwoo's response was broadcast across the galaxy. The Council asked us to fight because you could not. We fought. We bled, we died. The enemy came to our home and murdered our families. Now you want us to stop because it makes you uncomfortable? No. We are not your servants. We are not your weapons to be used and discarded. We are humans, and we will finish what the Vrath started. She paused, and her next words would be repeated for generations. You want a ceasefire? Tell the Vrath. Tell them we are coming. Tell them we are bringing every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have. Tell them they can surrender, they can flee, or they can die. But tell them this. We are not stopping. We are just getting started. The galaxy watched in horror as humanity prepared for total war. And in that moment, every species learned an important truth. Never attack a human's home. Because humans do not fight just to win. They fight to make sure you never threaten them again. 7 human fleets entered Vrath space like a storm made of steel and fury. The Galaxy Council had threatened sanctions, had warned of consequences, had begged humanity to accept the ceasefire. None of it mattered. Earth had made its decision, and nothing would change it. General Sangwoo commanded the overall operation from the carrier Retribution. He was a veteran of Earth's bloodiest conflicts, a man who understood war not as politics but as mathematics. The equation was simple: eliminate the Vrath ability to wage war, or humanity would always live under threat. They think we want revenge, he told his command staff. They are wrong. Revenge is emotional. This is practical. We are removing a threat the same way you remove a tumor, completely. The Council observers aboard human ships watched in growing horror as the operation unfolded. This was not a military campaign. It was systematic destruction. Every Vrath military installation was targeted. Every shipyard, every weapons facility, every training center. The humans had spent weeks planning, identifying targets, calculating the most efficient way to eliminate the Vrath war machine. Commander Young Mi led the siege of Vrath Prime's orbital defenses. The homeworld was protected by the most sophisticated defense network in Vrath space. 60 orbital platforms, 300 defensive satellites, and 50 capital ships formed a barrier that had never been breached. It took Young Mi's task force 48 hours to break it. They built their defenses assuming attackers would follow conventional tactics, she explained to the Council observer. We do not. We use their own satellites as shields. We hack their platforms and turn them against each other. We attack from vectors they assumed were impossible. The orbital defenses fell one by one. The Vrath fought desperately, but they were facing an enemy that had learned from every battle, adapted to every defense, and anticipated every counter-move. When the last platform was destroyed, Young Mi did not celebrate. She simply marked it complete and moved to the next target. Colonel Taeyang's Special Forces teams operated across 24 Vrath worlds simultaneously. Their mission was surgical: disable command and control. His teams infiltrated the Vrath Emperor's bunker complex on Vrath Prime, a fortress built deep underground and supposedly impenetrable. It took Taeyang's team 60 minutes to reach the Emperor's command center. They used stolen Vrath uniforms, forged credentials, and detailed intelligence gathered over months. They moved through the facility like ghosts, leaving unconscious guards and disabled security systems. When they reached the command center, they did not kill anyone, they broadcast a message instead. The Emperor appeared on every screen in Vrath space, disheveled and frightened, surrounded by human special forces. Your Emperor cannot protect himself, Taeyang's voice said calmly. He cannot protect you. Surrender and you live. Fight and you die, your choice. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could reach the Emperor in his most secure facility, nowhere was safe. Vrath morale collapsed across multiple systems. Captain Daeho commanded the fleet action in the Crimson Nebula, where the Vrath's elite honor guard made their last stand. These were the best warriors the Vrath had, veteran commanders who had won 100 battles, ships equipped with the finest weapons the Empire could build. The battle lasted 11 hours. Daeho fought with the clinical precision that had become his trademark. He used the nebula's radiation to blind sensors. He predicted enemy movements based on their cultural tactics. He exploited every advantage, gave no quarter, and showed no mercy. When it ended, the Vrath Honor Guard was annihilated. Every ship destroyed or disabled, every commander dead or captured. The elite force that had terrorized Council space for generations was erased in less than a day. The Council observers transmitted their reports with shaking voices. They are unstoppable, one said. This is not war. This is extermination. Speaker Thelmara called an emergency council session. We must stop them. The humans have gone too far. They are becoming worse than the Vrath. Councillor Vesrin disagreed. Worse? The Vrath conquered for pleasure, killed for sport, terrorized because they enjoyed it. The humans kill only military targets. They do not enslave. They do not torture. They simply remove the threat with absolute efficiency. If that horrifies the U.S., perhaps we should remember what the Vrath did when no one stopped them. But the scale is what is required. The humans understand something we forgot. If you fight a war, you fight to win completely. Otherwise, you fight the same war again in 10 years, the debate raged, but it was meaningless. The Council had no power to stop humanity. Earth's fleets were too strong, their determination too absolute, their grievance too fresh. The Vrath Empire fractured under the assault. Systems surrendered independently. Military commanders abandoned their posts. Civilian populations fled before the human advance. The empire that had threatened the entire galaxy was collapsing in weeks. On the 43rd day of the operation, the Vrath government transmitted an unconditional surrender. They offered to meet any terms, accept any conditions, do anything to stop the destruction. Marshal Dong Hyan, Earth's chief negotiator, reviewed the surrender offer with cold eyes. He was a diplomat, not a soldier, but he had lost his wife and son in the attack on Earth. He understood both the law and grief. Unconditional surrender is accepted, he transmitted. Here are the terms. The Vrath representatives listened in growing despair. Complete demilitarization for 100 years. All warships destroyed, all weapons facilities dismantled, all military academies closed. Vrath could maintain police. Forces only, and those would be monitored by human observers. War reparations to every species they had attacked. The payments would continue for 50 years and would be verified by independent auditors. The Emperor and his war council would stand trial for war crimes. The trials would be public and broadcast across the galaxy. Human observers would be permanently stationed in Vrath space to ensure compliance. Any violation of these terms would result in immediate military response. These terms are impossible, the Vrath negotiator protested. You are destroying our entire civilization. No, Dong Hyan replied. We are destroying your ability to destroy others. Your civilization can thrive without conquest. You will learn how. The Emperor will never accept. The Emperor is a prisoner. He has no authority to accept or refuse. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. You lost. These are the consequences. The Vrath signed the surrender 3 days later. They had no choice. The Galaxy Council convened to discuss what humanity had done. The debate lasted for weeks. Some praised Earth for ending a threat that could have consumed the galaxy. Others condemned the ruthless efficiency of the campaign. All of them were afraid. "We asked them to fight for us," Speaker Thelmara said. "We did not expect them to be so terrifyingly effective." Ambassador Zhiwu stood before the council one final time. She had aged years and months. The grief of Earth's losses showed in every line of her face. "You hired humanity to fight your war," she said. "We fought. We won. And now you judge us for fighting the way we fight. Let me be clear, Earth no longer seeks council membership. We do not want to join your civilization. We want to protect it." "Protect it?" Thelmara asked carefully. "Yes, you are philosophers, artists, scientists. You have built a beautiful civilization based on peace and reason. But peace requires protectors, and reason must sometimes be defended with unreasonable force. That is what humans do. We are not like you, and we never will be. But we can ensure that species like the Vrath never threaten you again. You want to be our warriors?" "Not warriors, peacekeepers, not diplomats, enforcers. We are the people you call when talking fails." Counselor Vesrin understood. "You are offering to be the galaxy's weapon. The force that maintains peace through the threat of overwhelming response. Yes, we will not interfere in council politics. We will not dictate policy. But if another species decides that conquest is preferable to cooperation, we will stop them. Permanently." The council debated for months. The proposal was terrifying and practical in equal measure. Humanity had proven its capability and its restraint. They had destroyed the Vrath military, but had not targeted civilians, had not occupied territory, had not sought empire. They had simply removed a threat. Finally, the council voted. It was close, but it passed. Humanity was given a unique position. Peacekeepers of council space, they would maintain fleets on the borders. They would respond to military threats. And they would do it with the cold efficiency they had shown against the Vrath. "We are making them into monsters," Thelmara warned. "We are making them into guardians," Vesrin corrected. "The council flourishes because we can afford to be peaceful. Humanity ensures we can afford it by being willing to be violent when necessary." Admiral Heinsiek retired after the war. He had served 50 years in Earth's military and had seen enough death for 10 lifetimes. He returned to a quiet house in the countryside and tried to forget the things he had ordered. The lives he had ended, the choices he had made, he could not forget. But he could live with it, knowing that Earth was safe and the galaxy was more peaceful because of what he had done. Captain Deho became the first human appointed to the Council's military advisory position. He worked to train Council forces in human tactics, not because he wanted them to be like humans, but because he wanted them to survive the next threat. Commander Young Mi took command of the 3rd Fleet, stationed permanently at the edge of Vrath space. Her mission was simple: ensure they never rebuilt their military capability. She performed her duty with quiet efficiency. Never cruel but never lenient, Ambassador Jiwoo became Earth's first Secretary of Galactic Affairs. She worked to build relationships with Council species, to show that humans were more than warriors. It was difficult work. The galaxy remembered the war, remembered the systematic destruction of the Vrath Empire, remembered the absolute refusal to stop. Fear and respect were hard to separate. 5 years after the war ended, the galaxy had changed. Conflicts between Council species had decreased dramatically. Not because species were more enlightened, but because they knew the cost of starting a war. A minor species called the Caliph attempted to conquer their neighbors, claiming ancient territorial rights. The Council issued warnings. The Caliph ignored them. The Council imposed sanctions. The Caliph continued their invasion. Then a single human destroyer arrived in Caliph space. The captain transmitted a simple message: "Stand down immediately, or we will make you stand down. Your choice." The Caliph War Council debated for 6 hours. They reviewed the recordings from the Vrath War. They calculated odds. They considered their options. They surrendered without firing a shot. The invasion ended. The destroyer departed. Peace was maintained. In a council classroom, a young student asked Speaker Thelmara, "Do you regret asking the humans for help?" Thelmara looked at the peaceful galaxy, bought with human blood and maintained by human vigilance. Every day, the speaker admitted, but I would do it again. We learned an important truth. What truth? That peace is not natural. It must be built, and it must be defended. For 10,000 years, we built peace and forgot how to defend it. Humanity never forgot. They remember that civilization is fragile, that peace is expensive, and that sometimes the price must be paid in violence to prevent greater violence. Are they monsters? They are guardians. And the difference between monsters and guardians is this: monsters take joy in violence. Guardians do it because someone must, and they accept the burden so others do not have to. Will they always protect us? I believe so. Because that is what humans do. They protect what they care about, and they have decided to care about the galaxy. We are very fortunate they made that choice. The student thought about this. Are we safe now? Thelmara looked out at the stars where human ships patrolled the darkness, where soldiers stood watch so civilians could sleep peacefully, where warriors bore the burden of violence so philosophers could contemplate peace. Yes, Thelmara said finally. We are safe. Because somewhere out there, a human is standing watch, and any species foolish enough to threaten peace will learn what the Wrath learned. What is that? That you can make humans negotiate. You can make them compromise. You can make them patient. But if you threaten what they protect, you cannot make them stop. You can only make them angry. And when humans get angry, they get efficient. And that is more terrifying than any rage. The galaxy learned to live with humanity as its protectors. It was not the peace the Council had dreamed of, perfect and pure. It was the peace that was possible, maintained by those willing to do what was necessary, and in the darkness between stars, human ships patrolled, silent, watchful, ready. The galaxy slept peacefully, never knowing how many threats were stopped before they began, never seeing the battles fought in silence, the invasions prevented with quiet warnings. The wars ended with nothing more than the knowledge that humans were watching. It was not the peace the Council wanted, but it was the peace they needed. And humanity, having learned the cost of peace through blood and grief, guarded it with absolute dedication, because they had learned something the galaxy had forgotten. Peace is not given. It is taken. It is built. It is defended. And sometimes it requires those willing to be terrible so others can be good. Humanity accepted that burden, and the galaxy was better for it.